Don McKinnon. Hello, Sir Don. Welcome by Zoom. The benefits of technology means that you don't have to zap around the country. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Your Worship and honourable councillors. I realise, of course, coming to council like this and seeking support for a project on the other side of the world is certainly a big ask. But given that this little town of Quesnoy, still 102 years after World War I, is revering what New Zealanders did for it, it seems that we are very much in a catch-up phase. I say this because, you know, New Zealanders are great travellers, and I'm sure we'll all be travelling again soon. What a lot of them do is go to the Western Front. And where do they go on the Western Front to hear about the New Zealand story? Well, you don't go to the Australian Museum to hear it. You don't go to the Canadian Museum to hear it, or the British Museum, the American Museum, the Visitor Centre, or the Indian one, or the South African one. The fact is, we've never had a place of our own there. Yes, we've got 12,500 headstones of soldiers that are buried there. We have monuments. Many of our leaders, prime ministers, even mayors and governors general often go to the Western Front and participate in events there, but they're always at someone else's place. And so Quesnoy, the establishment of a New Zealand museum come visitor centre at Quesnoy, is all about ensuring that young New Zealanders, my grandchildren and their grandchildren, have a place to go to. It should have been done 120 years ago, but it wasn't. So let me just make 3 points. One is, this is very much a catch-up. Yes, it should have been done in the 1920s, and we'd be proud of probably what was done then, but it wasn't. But there's still the acknowledgement that those soldiers who died in World War I deserve more than just their gravestones and the monuments. They deserve to have a place where New Zealanders can visit and hear about those stories. And so we have purchased this 1 hectare of land inside the town of Quesnoy, a very, very historic town, which has enormous history despite World War I. The second point is money. And obviously that's why I'm speaking to you here. We've got a budget of 15 million we believe is needed to establish the museum come visitor centre so that there is something of significance there when people go and visit this little town. We have raised about 8.8 million so far, all from individuals, from family trusts and such organisations like that. I'm still going around the country with a tin cup trying to get more. And one of the reasons, of course, coming to local authorities is you are spread all over New Zealand. And if we can get some money from New Zealanders via their rates, via whatever way they commit money to their local authority, that would be a very even spread. We're asking local authorities to have a look at providing to this trust $1 per citizen spread over 3 years. So far, we've had contributions from about 10 local authorities, and they range from about 10 cents per citizen to $1.10 per citizen. So, of course, that is entirely up to you. Central government have played a part so far of offering New Zealand donors a tax rebate. That is quite essential, of course, because the money is getting spent outside of New Zealand. And my third point is Christchurch and, of course, Canterbury. Both Christchurch and Canterbury feature very strongly in this little village of Quesnoy. One of your most prominent citizens after World War I, Lieutenant later Dr. Averill, of course, was the man who first went over the wall to take the beleaguered town from then German occupation. And of course, the Canterbury Battalion was very much involved in that ultimate liberation. So there's a distinct link between where you are today and this little town up near the Belgian border. So I can only leave it with you to think very hard about this project, to kind of help do what wasn't done in 1920s, to catch up so-called. So not only to acknowledge what those soldiers did 102 years ago, but to ensure that the next generations can clearly understand the story and recognise those great New Zealand characteristics of courage, of ingenuity and humanity, which were shown in that town. In my last conversation with the mayor of Le Quesnoy, I said to her, "Ma'am, we haven't done much for the first 100 years, but we'll certainly make it up in the second 100 years." And that's where we are today. So thank you, Your Worship. If I can answer any questions at this time, I'm only happy to do so. If people want more material on the project, we're happy to send it to them. Thank you.
I think we're out of time for questions, but thank you very much for a very clear presentation of the request that you're making of councils around the country, and good luck. And we will obviously consider that when we come time to consider the detail of the long-term plan. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next one is Glenda Martin.